Alright guys, hope you're doing well. This is Rowlands here. I'm a nutritional balancing practitioner, and in this audio track I'm going to talk about my visual snow journey, how I have healed it myself, and my personal theory on what causes it. So I'm going to try and make it fairly quick. I don't want to drag it on too much, just to give people the sort of meat and potato of the whole journey. Just for other people watching my channel, I'm going to be doing these sort of audio clips a little bit more often. The main reason being I'm very busy at the moment building my app over at hairanalysis.report. And yeah, taking a little bit of time out of my day just to make these videos and keep you up to it, make these sort of audio / podcast tracks to keep you up to date and to provide new content it's a much more easier way for me to do things. Alright, so visual snow. Alright, so this has probably been the most complicated issue that I've had to overcome, mainly because not many people know about it, not many people have heard about it, and therefore, there's no real medical data or doctors out there that have come out with cures, etc. So I'm just going to give you my journey and what I feel is definitely a contributor to visual snow. So when I first started getting ill around 14, 15, 16, mainly 14, I started getting derealization. A lot of it was from weed. Important to note that I get a lot of people come to me who get derealization from weed. They also get visual snow from weed, but I'm not sure whether my visual snow started at that point. But that's an important distinction to make, which you'll understand later on in the on the video. But weed, it puts a tremendous amount of pressure on the liver, which I find interesting. There's a lot of cadmium in there, and you'll see me sort of try and connect the dots as we move through this. So then I sort of kept getting worse with my health. I started getting into drugs, again, all very powerful on the liver. And I think one of the biggest nails in the coffin for me was when I started taking a drug called Accutane to help with my acne. I thought that a lot of my mental issues, my detachment from reality and brain fog, was to do with my low self-esteem that I thought was from acne. So I ended up taking Accutane. Turns out that my symptoms and problems just ended up getting 100 times worse. It didn't help my self-esteem really whatsoever, even though my acne went. And it was around that time when I started really seeing the visual snow. By this point, I've probably got 30-40 symptoms. My visual symptoms range from visual snow after images, floaters. Then I had obviously brain fog, derealization, dry skin, a lot of sort of various skin problems, even though my spots had dried up, extreme social anxiety, suicidal thoughts, tremors, just other things like bad breath, which sort of makes much more sense now, racing mind, sexual health was horrendous, low libido, etc. Now, one thing I've realised is that a lot of these symptoms I found is related to the liver. If anyone's familiar with Chinese medicine, they connect up a lot of eye health to the liver. Bad breath is connected to the liver. A lot of people who've got sort of candida on the tongue, bad breath, you'll generally find that this is often caused by liver toxicity. Also, Accutane is a synthetic version of vitamin A, which is extremely hard on the liver. Doctors are actually upfront about this. So they try and steer people away from it as a result. But I'm saying all this because I do feel like visual snow is also related to the liver, which I'm going to get onto, after a while. So I took Accutane. I was around 17, 18 by this point. I'd started getting my health problems 14. I was eating terrible. I was going out still drinking, taking drugs. Obviously I shouldn't have done that, but I did. And then I went to all the psychologists. Psychologists couldn't do nothing for me. They told me I had low self-esteem. Went and did cognitive behavioural therapy. All the gamut that a lot of people do, and didn't get anywhere with that. Then on the internet I heard the word brain fog getting thrown around a little bit, so I was like, oh well, that sounds like me, my brain's definitely foggy. And then I found an article on the internet by a guy called Dr. Lawrence Wilson, and read his article on brain fog, and I think things just started clicking into place. So by this point I was in an extreme mess. I found this healing program, which is basically designed to heal the body as a whole unit, and I embarked on that. Little did I know of how messed up my body was, and as a result how difficult it would be to heal. But regardless, I stumbled my way through the health program, and slowly but surely my symptoms started to improve. Now, visual snow seemed to be always a sticky one for me. I generally find that people who've got visual snow also have a lot of the other issues that I've talked about, and visual snow, not always, but generally, is sort of sometimes the last symptom to start when the body starts to get broken down, which I find interesting, as it's as if whatever's happening, in my opinion, it's liver damage. The liver's got to be quite severely damaged for people to start getting visual snow. Now, that's not always the case, and a lot of people will say, well, my liver's fine, I don't have any problems with my liver. But I would argue against that. I think these days people's livers are under extreme stress. The liver can be basically 2/3 not functioning, and a person wouldn't feel any symptoms at times. So the liver's got massive resilience when it comes to the damage that it can take before you start seeing, signs of liver problems. A lot of people's livers these days are compromised at birth. I'm not saying that the liver's not working well at birth, but a lot of mothers these days pass down various toxins from the environment that we accumulate these days, and babies are being born in much worse health. A lot of people can't quite understand this, but when you look at it from a mineral perspective, babies back in the 80s used to have mineral profiles done, and they all was pretty healthy for the most part. As time's gone on, over the past 30 years, we can get mineral profiles from babies now, and sometimes the mineral profiles look like that of a 70, 80 year old in what we call a 4 lows pattern. So clearly there's some serious things going off with our youth of today. So if you're a child, you're already compromised at birth, and then things aren't looking too good for that child straight away because the foundation is just not there. So anyway, I found that even though visual snow was one of the, I don't know whether it was one of the last things I got, but anyway, it was definitely one of the last things to go when I was healing. So that's why it's one of the more confusing things for me, because I didn't really understand whether I needed to be looking at the eyes, the brain, or whatever. So after a while, when I started to get more in contact with my body, I actually started to understand the different organs in my body, and I could figure out which organ was under stress. So it was easy for me to figure out when my adrenals were under stress, because I used to get fatigued, depressed. If my liver was under stress, I used to get eye floaters, an increase in visual snow. I used to get an increase in visual snow when my adrenals were weakened as well, which I found interesting. So after a while, I started to realise, when my visual snow started improving a little bit, I started to realise what makes it worse, what makes it better. The things that made it worse were alcohol, smoking, when I was when I was weak, when I'd maybe not slept. So I started to realise that when sort of specific organs were under a lot of pressure, mainly the liver and the adrenal glands, I used to get an increase in visual snow, which I found quite interesting. So the more I worked on my liver, every time I would do things that would help my liver, i.e. things like coffee enemas, which I appreciate a lot of people think that's pseudoscience or whatever. From my experience, it's worked extremely well for me. In fact, I don't actually think that I would have been able to get over my visual symptoms and other symptoms without doing those, because at times they were so powerful that I would literally finish a session and all of my symptoms would be improved. Sometimes I would do an enema and my symptoms would worsen, but this I attribute to removing toxins from the liver, and it was circulating temporarily in the blood and causing temporary stress before it came out of the liver. So that was something that was pretty enlightening for me. So as the years went on, I mean, we're talking 2, 3, 4 years. I mean, it took me a long time to really sort out my health problems. As I say, I started to notice when visual snow got worse, when it got better, and it coincided with things like floaters in the eye. So whenever I would stress out my adrenal glands, and one of the my liver, and everyone knows that if you drink alcohol, for example, you stress out the liver. When I would drink alcohol, I would get an increase in eye floaters and increase in visual snow. So that's, it sort of made me realise that the Chinese medicine theory is pretty correct, that there is a link between the eyes and liver health. So after a while, I was pretty convinced that if you fix the liver, you fix the eyes, especially things like visual snow and eye floaters and other things like after images, etc. Obviously, some people's problems are very eye specific and not connected to the liver, but in these instances, I was pretty confident that it was very, very closely connected to the liver, and the more I worked on the liver, the more my eyes improved, and more specifically the visual snow. After a while, I feel like my liver got so much more healthy that the floaters completely went away, and the visual snow was, residual. But then I started to think to myself, well, how is people have attributed visual snow to the brain, and specifically a part of the brain at the back of the brain, which is responsible for sort of processing vision, etc. And this has prompted me to do a little bit of research, because I was thinking, well, in my opinion, this is connected to my liver, and as a practitioner now, and other clients can vouch for this, whenever they work on their liver or whenever their liver gets stressed, that is correlated with an increase and decrease in visual snow, which I found quite interesting, because now my clients are going through the same thing. But then I was thinking, well, how is it related to the brain? So after a bit of research and speaking to people like Dr. Wilson, I was talking to him about Accutane specifically, because Accutane's pretty well known for damaging the liver, and pretty well known for giving people visual snow. So I found that quite interesting, and as many people are aware or not aware, Accutane is actually a synthetic form of vitamin A. So I was wondering, how does vitamin A, or how could vitamin A play a role in this? And realised that the liver plays a big role in regulating vitamin A and processing vitamin A. And then I found out that vitamin A is needed by the body to convert light signals from the eyes into electrical signals. Now, anyone who takes a look at visual snow can pretty much see that it is like white noise on a TV. There's some electrical problem going off there, which makes me feel that a excellent theory for the reason why people get visual snow is because the vitamin A regulation in the body is not functioning correctly due to liver damage or liver problems. And liver problems can come from a variety of different things. A lot of people think that they haven't got liver problems, but in my opinion, they probably have. And usually if you've got weak adrenals, you've got a weak liver, because the liver and adrenals work quite closely together. And I found on hair mineral analysis tests, which is what I use to figure out my health problems and what I now use to teach other people, pretty much, I've actually not seen one single hair analysis test that initial tests where people have not got some form of adrenal burnout. And you can also see there's some trends on a hair analysis test for liver regulation too. And everyone that has visual snow has adrenal burnout trends and poor liver trends, which I found interesting. So yeah, that's pretty much it. The main point that I want to put across is that from my experience and the experience of working with clients is that when you heal the body and heal the adrenal glands and more specifically detoxify the liver, the visual snow seems to improve, and you could then potentially theoretically go on to try and figure out the reasons why scientists have attributed visual snow to an area at the back of the brain that processes vision. You could then go on to say, well, if there's a correlation between the liver and there's a very, very interesting drug that seems to that people take and they seem to get visual snow is Accutane, which is a very, very potent synthetic form of vitamin A. And vitamin A is used by the body to convert light signals from the eyes into electrical signals, and I found that pretty astounding. So obviously I'm not a scientist. I'm just someone that's managed to heal my visual snow, and I'm curious to understand the reasons why. So in order to heal this, it's not really about giving any healthy forms of vitamin A like the one you find in sort of fish oil, for example. What I find is that in order to heal the body, you've basically got to rebuild the system and give the body the minerals that it needs and remove the stuff that it doesn't need, and create a lifestyle that rejuvenates the body. It took me a long time. I'm very happy that my clients are also seeing similar results when it comes to healing the liver and healing the body as a whole. Whether I'm correct with the vitamin A regulation, I'm not sure, and I hope that there's scientists out there that could potentially pick that up. But I think the most telling thing is that if you do some of the stuff that we talk about and teach on the Nutritional Balancing program, people are getting fast improvements with a visual snow, and there's a couple of recovery stories too. I think one of the biggest problems with this is it takes a long time, regenerating the adrenal glands, liver, thyroid glands, and that takes a long time, and there's a lot of problems that comes with it, like going through detoxification reactions when you've got things like mercury and arsenic and cadmium that's been released from tissue sites into the blood. Can cause a lot of problems and make you feel not good, and it can stop people from doing things. But we have got testimonials on this YouTube channel from people who've had visual snow and are also telling us that they are getting great improvements. So that's everything. I appreciate that's a lot to take in, but I've tried to keep it into a bite-sized chunk. So thanks for listening, guys, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye bye.